Welcome, friends, to this episode of It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is. I had the honor of speaking with Belen Tokarski, who is the president and COO of Mylo in the Chicagoland area. And we had a really fun and humorous conversation about her hard lessons learned, being someone who's a hard driving, high achieving executive who's had to really figure out the hard way some of the impact she was having on people and adjustments she needed to make to really be able to lead a high performing team where people were engaged and growing. Really, really cool lessons. And Belen is just so authentic, so fun. I know you're going to get a lot out of this. So, welcome to the episode. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is, where I get to have super fun conversations with really badass people in C-suite roles. And we talk about all the fun, prickly people friction that's come up in our path and all the hard lessons we've learned. And I'm so excited to have Belen Tokarski with me today. Belen is the president and COO, because being president isn't hard enough, president and COO of Mylo, which is a company in the insurance tech industry. And Belen has had over 25 years of senior leadership roles in the insurance and insurance tech and intelligence market, which I don't fully understand, but I'll let you help us understand it. So, Belen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Meg. It's my pleasure.
And I know we're going to have a lot of fun based on what we've already talked about. So, can you give us just a little bit of the arc of your career and how you ended up in this specific role with Mylo?
Sure. Yeah. Like most people, insurance was not a plan. I just sort of landed there. I started doing insurance work in a like a help desk kind of environment. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, actually. I graduated with a psychology degree from a very small private liberal arts college. Knew that I wanted to go to graduate school and get my MBA, but I needed some real life experience along the way. So I took a job doing customer service representative work and
Mhm.
found very quickly that I like to break things. And I like to break things for the purpose of making them better. I like people, I like problem solving, I like all of that. And I just ended up getting, my shoulder tapped along the way and moved from customer service rep to QA to business analyst to a director of business analysts all the way to just automation strategy. And here I am.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty common for us to have winding paths that weren't necessarily laid out. Like I did not have a 5 or 10 year goal. And I was tapped on the shoulder and just kind of evolved into roles that felt exciting and
Mhm,
meaningful.
mhm,
So, you've been in a lot of settings that are pretty demanding and fast-paced. And like
mhm,
you said, you break things and fix them and grow them and love to innovate and drive
mhm.
change. But most people hate change.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about something that was like an unexpected difficulty or barrier that got in front of you when you were trying to create some sort of forward progress or change.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that barrier kind of on the people side of things or friction that came up, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. I have one. There, of course, have been a few, but the one that stands out the most is when I made a jump from my last company to the one I'm in right now. So working from Mylo, left in Cheyenne, came to Mylo, um, to another small startup, environment with a great team of people. The culture at the time when I joined didn't necessarily match or fit the strategy and growth goals of the company, but that was unbeknownst to me. So I joined the team, love the people, and they're working in a culture that is surrounded by the idea of holacracy.
Mm.
Holacracy is fun, I think, and it's great for a small company when you're just trying to figure things out. You've got a bunch of really smart people who want to try on different roles. I liken it to like either a rotational program for a recent college grad or like a daycare, right? So if you don't figure out with that kind of an environment, cultural environment, how to achieve your growth goals, you end up having a really expensive day, like daycare. So it was hard. It was hard for me to come in, know the strategic goals and objectives, and figure out how we were going to operate that way in that environment. And we ended up removing it from the team, as a way of functioning. And there were some feathers ruffled along the way and some people upset because it was one of the reasons that they wanted to work at Mylo, because they thought it was such an important part of the culture. But people talk about strategy eats culture or culture eats strategy for business. Um, that was what was happening, but like not in a good way. So that was unexpected for me. I wasn't thinking I was going to have to battle that type of cultural shift in order to achieve the growth goals that we ultimately have achieved.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people talk about the holacracy. A lot of people have tried it. I have not heard of it working really well in a small company that's trying to grow. But
Yeah.
it does feel good.
Yeah. It's fun.
Great way
It's
to
fun.
develop people.
Yeah.
But if you have aggressive growth goals, you're going to have to be a little bit leaner, a little bit more
hmm
focused. Yeah.
Yeah. People have to understand why they were hired and what their primary function is,
Yeah.
and play that position on the field and play it well.
And there's a balance there for sure.
Mhm.
Right. So, okay. So, cultural friction. So, the leadership of any company is absolutely responsible for shaping the culture. And if we as leaders aren't shaping it, then your alphas are shaping it. And those
Mhm.
dominant personalities that may or may not be shaping it in a way that you want, right?
Mhm.
So I know that you're astutely aware of culture and how much it impacts things, and also the impact of bad leaders when it
Mhm.
comes to and by bad leader, I mean people like me. I've been a bad leader numerous
Mhm.
times in numerous ways that where you just didn't quite have the awareness and the development of those skills that are unique to leadership, right?
Mhm.
So can you talk to me about a time where you saw an example of bad leadership really negatively impacting culture or results?
Mhm.
What were those behaviors of that bad leader? And what did you learn or take from that experience?
Wow. Um, I so just generally, I feel like I've worked with a number of leaders, and bad seems like really like a harsh word to use. Strong, um, misguided,
Mhm.
not knowing their strengths. Again, like you, I'm not always the best leader. So, um, I, I think it's a real balance between understanding how you're going to achieve your growth goals in a company and how you are landing on people and how the way you land on people may disrupt their progress and the overall team's success. So, um, I think about like Jenga, right? The game. So if you've got a team versus team, company versus company, and you're the CEO and you're standing back and your team's playing your biggest competitor in a game of Jenga and you are, watching them pull a piece out. If you're the leader and you're like, why are you doing that one? Don't do that one. What are you doing? Don't do that. You're gonna break the whole thing. Like, that's a bad leader. That's a bad leader. So, how do you keep your team focused and comfortable? Not comfortable like lazy, but like how do you keep them focused, comfortable on target, in a way that makes them feel supported,
Mhm.
challenged? You got to take risk. Obviously, it's Jenga, but how do you be good at that? And like sometimes bad leaders celebrate the fact that they're strong and harsh and they got there that way because they were this or they had a tough leader and so now they're a tough leader. It's like I just don't know that that's the best way to grow a team in the 2020s and
Yeah.
beyond.
Yeah. I mean, as a society, we have really changed what our expectations are for work, right?
hmm
And people are not wanting to put up with as much crap as they used to. And I think
hmm
that that's a good thing. But it
hmm
forces leaders to be a little more attuned to what's going on
Yeah.
around them and be able to really coach and develop people rather than controlling
hmm
them. And all those
hmm
old school people, that I was led by
Yep.
tended to be that command and control style of
Hmm.
leader. And then I adopted some of those behaviors too. Right.
Same.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was strong. I was decisive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Just like they were. But then you realize you're just like stepping all over people's faces and they're not motivated or engaged or
yeah,
growing.
yeah.
Yeah. So research shows over and over that emotional intelligence is the biggest predictor of how much success you're going to have in a leadership role, right? It's the
Mhm.
self-management, the social awareness, social management. And yet I think we're not paying very much attention to it. But it's those social emotional skills that are going to make or break you when it comes to how, like, are you standing on people's faces or are you empowering them, right? Do you have a team that's motivated or do you have a team that resents you and
Yeah,
doesn't trust you?
yeah.
So how have you seen low EQ or low social emotional functioning impact a team or business results? And how have you worked on your own emotional intelligence?
Hmm. So, when I think about low emotional intelligence, I think mostly of self-awareness. And, there's the read the room. Um, and that to me, that's like everyone first thinks, oh, it's reading the room. Can they read the room? It's reading the room, but then knowing what to do with it and how you're impacting the environment of the room.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen low EQ show up in the way that someone brings the weather with them into a meeting.
Okay.
So if you're grumpy or you're bad or you had a bad day, like how are you able to wall off that experience and focus on the task at hand?
Hmm.
And so that I think is one part of it is how do you eliminate that additional friction that's created by not having good self-awareness, emotional intelligence in a setting.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that just it impacts the decision making and the dialogue that everyone's having a lot. If you've got that little storm cloud over you and you're
Mhm,
frowning and
mhm.
negativity spreads like poison through a room, and it kind of sticks. And everyone loses their energy, they lose their
Yeah.
creativity, they feel
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm probably going to say something wrong. This person might blow up. And it just completely shuts down creativity and problem solving.
And I'm using that example specifically in this case because for me personally, um, you know, it's more about self-restraint. So if I'm in a setting and that we've got an agenda for a meeting and someone starts and they say something that to me is completely just like incorrect or whatever. It's how well am I, me personally, able to manage my reaction so
Hmm.
I don't derail the entire meeting,
Yeah.
which which I've seen happen in leaders that I've, worked for. They'll completely derail a meeting
Yeah.
because they were unable to manage their own response to a
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
And let's bring the weather with you, self-restraint, all of those things. And so, like, what's the solution for that? It's about recognizing that you're someone who's prone to having those types of reactions. Number one, like you first have to admit that you have a problem. Um, and that's really important, but then you have to do something about it. So like tips and tricks and things like that that help you, I think are really critical. What I've found that I can do now is I try, and I've said this before, I'm trying to adopt this idea of like confident humility and then my leadership style. So I always show up as being real like strong, forceful, have an opinion. I got the answer. I'm going to be first, and I have to pull myself back. And what I found helps the most is if I tell my team that's
Hmm.
what I'm doing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So they're not confused. Like, why
Help
isn't
me
she?
out, y'all. You're
Yeah,
gonna see some me trying
yeah,
some new stuff. Help me out.
right.
Give me some feedback. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's have a safe word. If I start to really spew all these great big ideas and I'm talking over
Yeah.
you, just,
Yeah.
we're
Safe
gonna
word.
say
Yeah.
chapstick or
Popcorn.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked, my fellow leaders and teammates to help me correct some things I was working on
Hmm.
because I, um, and we had the kind of relationship where they would. And
Hmm.
that's really vital is to
Hmm.
have a trusting relationship where people can feel like they can give you feedback or interrupt you
Yeah.
or help you course correct. Like they have to have a lot of faith in you if you are, in an authority role above them. Or if
Hmm.
they see you as the boss, then it's going
Yeah.
to be incredibly hard for them to help you with that.
Hmm. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It's fun.
And then you're modeling self-awareness and personal growth, which we
Yeah.
want we want everyone around us to be doing as well. So let's just admit that we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, it sounds like you're pretty aware of some of the tendencies that you have and you're managing them.
Hmm.
And, sometimes you look back at a problem, a situation, and realize you are your own worst enemy. Like, I am the
Hmm.
common denominator in this problem that keeps coming up, right? And then
Hmm.
you've got to look at something about yourself, some trait that you have, or an old mindset, an old approach that you keep using that doesn't work. Right.
Hmm.
So, what has been one of those key learning moments for you where you realized, I need to change this about myself? What did you
Hmm.
learn and carry forward from that experience?
Yeah, I am. So I'm pretty independent. I have a lot of like desire towards like highly motivated, high achievement individual. And I like to work with people that are the same or similar, right? Um, and I found that that's what helps me be most successful is how can I get a group of people together that are also like they want to win, they want to be good at what they're doing. Um, but along the way, I really struggled with completed staff work, is what I'll call it. So, giving direction to people and making sure that they could do the work independently and bring back a solution
Mhm.
instead of having to constantly come back and check, am I on the right track? And it's not that I don't want them to ask me when they've got questions and they need help and direction,
Mhm.
but how can what's the best way to give people the freedom to come up and think through ideas to solve the problem we're trying to solve.
Mhm.
So a couple of things. One is I've learned now that if I say to them, hey, we're going to have a meeting in a week and we're trying to figure out the best way to solve problem X, I want everyone to independently come up with their own ideas.
Mhm.
Because if they come into the room without having done that, and we all just start to like whiteboard the problem, solve for a solution, I find that people just stop talking and they wait for me to tell them what we're going to do.
Yep.
And I don't want that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that I don't know. I know that because I've been doing this, like you said, over 25 years, I know that things that I tried 10 years ago that didn't work may work today.
Mhm.
So how can it's like the Adam Grant think again, like we
Mhm.
got to keep trying to revisit these things. So I've learned that I need to give people the time and space independently to come up with solutions and bring them to the table and create a safe environment because we're high performance, high accountability, but also high support.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some people just don't process information quickly. And
Right.
so they need that reflection time. And that's
Yeah.
literally a brain wiring thing that doesn't change about
Correct.
them. Like
Yeah.
that's how some people's brains work. So you can't just put them on the spot and say, be creative and problem solve with me in the moment. And that took a while for me to learn because I'm not one of those people. I can
Yeah.
just start sparking off
Yeah.
and externally process things. And another big barrier in those situations is people are so afraid of getting embarrassed or being judged. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to create that enough safety and
Mm-hmm.
support to say, even if it's a crazy idea, it's okay. Just
Mm-hmm.
let's just throw it out. Let's go a little
Mm-hmm.
bit outside the box
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to be judged for it. That's actually what we're trying to do right now is
Mm-hmm.
brainstorm even crazy ideas. So
Yeah.
that kind of helps soften that fear
Mm-hmm.
that people have.
Mm-hmm.
So we have talked a lot about culture. I know you've thought a lot about it. What do when you look at your leadership team right now, the culture, but also the leadership skills, the social emotional,
Mm-hmm.
the EQ stuff, what do you see that are they optimized for the next 5 years? Because you have a lot of change and growth planned. So, what do you see as opportunities in your leadership team to ensure that you guys are really set up for success 5 years down the road?
Yeah. Like we just had an offsite with our core leadership team, and I actually think our team is the healthiest it has been
Mm.
in the 6 years that I've been at Mylo. The people that were super intense in some areas have tampered that intensity a little bit,
Mhm.
and people who have been shyer or more reserved are speaking up. We've removed some layers.
Mhm.
So, and sometimes, it's like thinning out your garden so that the flowers can grow, like weeding. And it's not like we didn't have like weeds, but like we needed to like thin things out and get some sun in there and give people more opportunity to provide their responses and ideas. And to be quite honest, like I said, it's the most honest, but we're not going to like sit back
Mhm.
and just let it grow now, right? You have to keep tending to the garden. So, um, acknowledging the areas where we're making success is important, but oh, you know what? You know what it is that the thing that's going to help us move on forward, like and continue with our success and our growth trajectory, is to make sure we're looking at the right KPIs. This is going to be so
Mhm.
like academic, right? But we were seeing growth, but we weren't really paying attention to the fact that there were certain areas of the business that were outshining others.
Uh-huh.
And so while as a whole it was growing, there were areas though that needed to grow that weren't. And
Absolutely.
we've gotten a lot smarter about that. I just really think it's a healthier environment. It's the whole, you got to have high accountability with high support. Back to Jenga. Like, so, if the thing falls, are we just sitting around looking at each other like, your fault, you did this, like you built that? Like, no. When everyone plays Jenga, the first thing you want to do is stack it up and let's go, right? So like
Mhm.
that's our mentality is more like stack it up, let's go. And take chances, take risks, figure out the right
Mhm.
pieces to pull to be successful. So just making sure that we continue to have that same mindset
Mhm.
on the team, I think is the going to be the key to our success.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a fun team to be a part of.
It's awesome.
But I have to say that your answer of refined KPIs is not very sexy, Belen.
I know. I'm sorry, okay?
But it
I've
makes a
told
lot
you
of
I like
sense.
to win, right? You have like what gets measured gets managed, like
Exactly.
there's a little
Exactly.
bit of 1980s, 1990s that still proves to be correct.
Well, and honestly, when people have meaningful targets and measures that they're
Yeah.
like, ooh, if we did that, that would be a game changer.
Yeah.
That is truly reflective of us winning. And if we
Yes.
do that and we measure it and we're hitting it, we're winning,
Yeah.
that's motivating. It
Totally.
really
And
is.
like it's so many times there are KPIs and measures and there's some talking head presenting to the company saying, here are the results and here's what we did. And if you are part of the team, I don't care where you are, and you don't have clean line of sight to what your actions how your actions are impacting these numbers,
Hmm.
then your company is failing,
Yeah.
like failing. So how do we, in terms of like maximizing their opportunity for growth and success? So we
Yeah.
make sure that everybody understands like what part they play in helping us achieve our goals. And then you get their buy-in, and then they understand why they're there every day and what they're doing, and it
Yeah.
makes a world of difference.
And then they realize, oh, the company is winning because I'm doing this thing well. I
Exactly.
am influencing. I'm part of a winning team, but it's also partly winning because of me. And that's
Mhm.
that's a psychology that all humans share. We want to be a valued member of a winning team.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, I am always really curious when I ask this question, but especially with you, if you could go back in a time machine 10 to 15 years ago and give yourself advice, what would that advice be?
Hmm. Um, I think I think it would be to do some of the things I've learned to do now earlier. So, you know, a little more self-restraint in like talking over people or doing some of those things. Um, take more risks. Like we value my generation still valued loyalty and being part of a company. So like there were I'm old. I'm not that old. Like there was no Rolex watch for me or a gold pen, you know, for staying in a certain place. But I got real comfortable where I was, and my first real job of 15 years at CNA Insurance, I really loved it. I liked it. I liked my people. But I got bored, and when I got bored, I should have done something.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. Like this is it. Okay, so we talked about getting tapped on the shoulder. And I get this question a lot when I talk to young college kids, okay? Because they're like, or like new employees, they're like, well, when is my next promotion going to be? When am I gonna like? What about my next job? I don't like this anymore. Like that kind of mentality. When I was younger, I was just so focused on like getting the A and doing a good job, heads down, heads down. I really wasn't managing or looking to manage my career. I got my MBA, thought that was going to mean something immediately. Of course not, just more student loan debt. Um, I I didn't like I kept my head down waiting to get tapped on the shoulder despite getting the MBA. And when I saw things that were interesting to me,
Mhm.
I should have taken more of a chance to jump at them. Like
Okay.
I could have,
Yeah.
I'm such a curious person, but I also wanted to just do a good job. And
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
it weren't for some of the mentors that I had along the way, I probably would still be just doing a good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
managing your career, you got to put the work in, learn as much as you can. Don't be too hungry for the next opportunity would be the opposite of what I'm saying, but at the same time, don't just sit there.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
very happy. I love what I do. I am truly appreciative for all the opportunities that I had. I've met some awesome people. I've met some people that have taught me what to do differently. Um, But looking back, I just think I could have gotten a little bit more of a head start had I taken more chance and more risk.
Yeah. I love it. And that's not what I would have guessed for you, seeing as you are so driven and love change and growth.
Hmm.
But, you were a little hesitant personally to take a big
Hmm.
leap.
Hmm.
Because you loved being successful in the role you were in, right? And so there's a balance there of being able to take those risks and push ourselves and admit I'm ready for a leap here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women in particular have to be tapped on the shoulder to wake up and realize I could do something bigger. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was in that Sheryl Sandberg book too. I can't remember what study it is, where men and women look at a job description and women
Hmm.
have to check every box before they're willing
Yep.
to apply for the job, whereas
Yep.
men, well, and this isn't a gender thing. I mean, the study is a gender-based study,
Hmm.
but I think there are people that are, they're like, I can't do every single one of those things. I just don't think I should do it. And I was
Yeah.
more of that mindset back then when I was younger.
Hmm.
Of course, the opposite is you end up having a little bit of what is it like? Can't remember what I was gonna say. When people are like, it's a phrase where,
Imposter syndrome?
yes, thank you. Like the fear of imposter syndrome, like, well, I don't want to get asked a question I can't answer.
Yeah.
On the other side, you've got people who just talk, 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 and they don't even know what they're talking about. And do you think they care? No, until someone calls them out and say, you have no idea what you're talking about. You now lost all your credibility. So like, who do you want to be? And I think
Yeah.
it's somewhere in the middle. But
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Love it. Love it. Healthy risk and
healthy risk.
self-awareness. What am
Yes.
I ready for? Love it. Okay. Well, Belen, thank you so much for the conversation, for your authenticity, everything you shared. I can definitely see the growth and that it would be a lot of fun to be on your team. So
Thanks.
thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mag. I appreciate it.